This week, we're talking about visits to your healthcare clinician, whether it be your primary care physician, gynecologist, endocrinologist, orthopedist, anything like that, just to normalize. If you are in a bigger body, and that is anything from a BMI of 25 or over, having established that the BMI is a racist and unhelpful epidemiologic value that was not meant to be used for individuals, this is for you. Okay, so that's the introduction. This is for you. If going to the doctor is nerve-wracking for you, because anytime that you go, whether it's for a sinus infection or an ingrown toenail, they tend to prescribe weight loss. This is a video for you. One of the many problems with weight stigma is that it can prevent people from engaging in preventive or just regular medical care. And that's because when you go there and they fail to see the whole person and seem to only be focusing on your body weight and how that needs to come down, it is a terribly deflating, disorienting, discombobulating experience. It's awful. And so it makes a lot of sense why you would avoid it. And if your overall goal, one of your many goals for your life, are to have well-being and physical health and mental health, then you might want to figure out a way to re-engage with healthcare on your own terms so that you're not having panic attacks in the waiting room or procrastinating even calling and making the appointment. So these are some ideas for how to approach these healthcare visits by having a plan, by having some information ahead of time, and by preparing yourself to assert your own needs and to stand by them. So there's a little card, like a handout type thing that I created years ago, and it was like a little two-sided thing, and it was meant to be carried with you to the doctor's office. You can use this in a couple of different ways, but it makes several points, and I'll just touch on these 4 points. The first one is, please don't ask to weigh me unless it's medically necessary. Okay? This is something that you can lead with, whether you call ahead of time to speak with a doctor or leave a note to be left in your chart, whether you ask to be in touch with a physician's medical assistant or nurse who can communicate that to them, or you communicate this when you first arrive at your appointment and say, listen, this is difficult for me. I want to make it clear that I have certain needs around this appointment. And one of them is that we not focus on my weight. So please do not ask to weigh me unless it's medically necessary. And again, as we've said in the past, sometimes the hardest part is saying it and then not diminishing your words by saying something else, like, oh, I'm really sorry, I don't mean to make you uncomfortable. Let them deal with it. Okay, you won't be the first, you won't be the only person. Also, if COVID showed us anything, we can do a lot of healthcare appointments without getting weighed, right? What's the first thing that they do when you walk into the doctor's office? They weigh you. They don't need those data. They don't actually need those data for a lot of things. They're just checking a box, okay? So that might be a helpful reminder. Hey, you know what? When we were doing telemed, remember we didn't need weights? Well, I'm asking you not to weigh me unless it is actually medically necessary for what I'm here for today. That's point 1, right? And if you do need a number, if you need to check that box, just ask me and I can give you a guesstimate. Okay, that's fine for your documentation purposes. The second point is, if you do need my exact weight for a medical purpose, such as calculating a dose of medication that's weight dependent, let's talk about it. let's help me feel like I'm an active participant in choosing in this process, because then I might choose to do a blind weight. But it would also really help me to understand, why is this necessary? So the subtext here is, why don't you treat me like a whole person, and let's have a conversation about how we're going to be caring for my body. But this is one way of saying it. If measuring my weight is medically necessary, let's discuss it. I might choose to do a blind weight. Okay, that's point 2. Point 3, and these are not necessarily the order in which you need to discuss these. You can choose how you approach this. Point 3 is, if you see the condition that I'm here for in people with smaller bodies as well, please offer me the same treatment and options and discussion points as you would for them. Please don't treat me differently because I'm here in a larger body, if what I'm here for is something that occurs across the spectrum of body sizes. Okay, this is a very reasonable thing. And then the final point is, please don't prescribe weight loss for me, right? This might surprise you to know that this is not the first time I'm hearing somebody prescribe weight loss. I've heard it since I was 6, okay? So there's nothing new here. I've actually been on a diet or 2. It doesn't seem to work. And the data would suggest that they don't seem to work unless you're willing to sort of develop disordered eating to make it work. So could we focus instead on behaviors? What could I do? Could I walk for a few minutes after my meals? Could I focus on adding certain things to my diet, like sources of omega-3 fatty acids? What behaviors, something that I actually have control over, could I focus on to improve this health condition? Okay, because weight loss is not a behavior. Weight loss may or may not be a consequence of some behaviors, but it's not something that we have control over. And when we focus unilaterally on weight loss, this takes us out of our bodies, as it turns out, and makes it much less possible to just be there, living our lives as we would if we were just focusing on behaviors. So there's a section on this thing, and this little PDF will be linked to this message here. This part here is a referenced portion with some data, some scientific data that will speak to any healthcare clinician's concerns, right? You might be the first person taking the time and putting in the emotional labor to explain to them why this is so important, right? Why it's so necessary to question some of our deeply held beliefs in order to treat the whole person standing in front of you. So the information under this right-hand column, the evidence, is going to be interesting and important for you to understand, but this is also your offering to them. Hey, I'm not just being difficult here, right? Because how many times have you been made to feel like you're just being difficult? I'm actually making these requests based on scientific evidence, which should speak your language. This should speak directly to you, okay? So please accept this offering from me. Please review it and consider whether it might become part of the way in which you re-engage with healthcare appointments on your own terms. And as always, let me know what you find. Let me know if you feel like something's missing here. Let me know what your experience is. I'm not going to promise you that a healthcare clinician is going to be like, oh, thank you so much for broadening my horizons and teaching me about this. You might meet with some pushback, but you can handle that discomfort, right? And, you know, side note, meditation really does help us tolerate discomfort. It's not right that you have to tolerate the discomfort, but you can do it. And the more you practice these items, making your own needs and boundaries clear and then defending them, and dealing with the inherent sort of unfamiliar consequences, the easier it will become over time. And also at the same time, you'll be educating and hopefully spreading the message of intuitive eating and health at every size and a weight inclusive approach to healthcare. Okay. Hope this is helpful. Would love to hear your thoughts about it. And I will see you next time.